Okay, so just running through my build. Running, it feels good. Got the tree. I started Bloodmage. Bloodmage looked really cool. I didn't realize how much of a downside this would be. I've seen some people doing slam skills, which looks interesting. They pass all the way down here, they go up here, get like the armor, go armor stack, two hand slams, which is kind of like what I originally wanted to do. I know Quinn went that and did some like Hammer of the Gods stuff with Bleed, Ignite, which was kind of, and but I started spells, went spell leech, spell damage leeches life. It sucked when I first got it. Then they buffed leech, but then the way I've been playing is ball lightning into lightning warp, which I'll go into that combo a bit more. But spell leech just wasn't working when you're using life remnants properly. You're overcapping your health by double. And then ended up going down the route of crit damage once I got my third. Swapped out of Grasping Wounds because it was just a good defensive layer there. Progenesis from PoE1 or Death Dance if you play League. But went. So, starting off was Sangomancy, you gotta take it, Grasping Wounds. Then, once I got my third Ascendancy trial done, respect into crit damage and crit chance. A lot of the tree is just mana regen, crit chance, shock effect. This node's really good when you're throwing out the ball lightnings. It's an extra, it's like 34% chance just on this wheel, this tree alone. Started out going up here, just scaling lightning damage. It's a rough build to level. I was kind of just doing arc, a mixture of arc, spark. Spark firewall is like pretty nice. But I find this build combos really well with the Bloodmage. So went this node early on because you're shocking enemies. I'm not sure how this works with Lightning Warp specifically because Lightning Warp, the way we're using it here, doesn't shock on the hit. It shocks in a ground effect, which I'll do. I'll show it now even. Shock the ground. This area is the ground, and we're converting 3 dragons. It's really good at the moment. Converting our lightning hits into freeze build-up. So we're still scaling lightning damage. We're Archmage. We've got this scepter, which when you're teleporting on top of stuff and you're in the radius of stuff, it's really good for this build because it gives you a bunch of spirit. And then Malice, every 0.82 seconds, you're making the enemy more likely to be crit by a flat increase. So, you know how crit works. Increase is based on the flat amount, but this applies a flat weakness to the enemy, which is, I don't know the math completely, but the best scepter we're going to get, and it gives us nearly 180 spirit. With these rolls, this isn't the best scepter you can get. Like Allies in Presence is still, it's okay. I do have one friend I play with, he's chilling at the minute. But it's really good for what we're doing. I could definitely upgrade this soon. But just over the gear quickly, I'll go back to the tree soon. 3 dragons, it's great. The explosive shot build is using it, which is really fun. Recently spent a div on this one just for flat ES. ES is really good on Bloodmage because when you're spending your life, it's nice to have energy shield to cover it. We got this wand, it's pretty decent, sort of covers what I need. Some of the rolls could be better, but got stats, mana. we're not really too concerned about life. We kind of want mana, ES, reses, and just sort of that's to cover some of my requirements. Rarity is really nice to get on the rings if you've kind of got your reses closer sorted. We're at overcapped and 53% on chaos, which isn't too bad. Would be nice to have a little bit higher, given our life can get lower. Really big amulet there. I got this for like 5x. It's spent maybe another 3x on catalysts for it, just to get the mana up really high with Archmage. We're not like crazy stacked mana at the moment, we're only at 118. But gloves are decent. I could probably just swap them out for some ES gloves, but just yeah, a little bit of life. Mana, reses on most of your gear. Movement speed on boots is crucial. Chaos res is rough. You can pause on the gear if you want to see more detail. But back to the tree, we're just mostly getting ES, getting some regen, getting some crit, getting magnitude of shock as well. These two nodes in particular are really good for Archmage. And going over the gear, so the gems. So skills, we've got Blasphemy and an Aura, Temporal Chains, Heightened Curse, just to keep us safe around ourselves. We've got Cast on Crit, so this is like a crit, shock, Cast on Crit shock, Bloodmage, I guess. Just what I found is working for me. Cast on Crit with Lightning Conduit, which is 100% more damage with hits per 5% shock effect on the enemy. I think at the moment we're getting 58% shock effect, so that's over 1,000% more damage with the hit. And then we've got Ball Lightning. This does increase the energy cost a bit, but with how much we're critting, we are getting this off fairly regularly. Most rares are dying to it. So we're teleporting onto the enemy, they're getting crit by the hits, then if it's a rare, it gets blown up by Lightning Conduit, and then we also at the same time are spawning another Ball Lightning, which kind of just makes moving from pack to pack a bit quicker. We've got increased energy gain. If you're running a meta gem, this is great. It makes it a lot better after the nerf. And then 35% chance to refund half the energy cost. We're running this in conjunction with this one branch of meta gems, so it's just increased damage, energy generation, and then that chance. So we're getting 60% chance to get half of our energy back, which is big when you've got 5 cost energy. This node is really good, more magnitude on the shock, so because we're wanting to push the shock chance up, where we've got that on all of our jewels. Jewels are really strong as well. You can get some crazy stats like this is a great one. Yeah, just more ES on the tree, another here, and just get it. We've got exposure. So the lightning warp itself. So it reads at the end there. It creates a shocked ground when you cast this. So we're both freezing enemies, and then the persisting shocked ground is what's making them shocked, because it's still being generated from this skill. Our scaling of it increases the magnitude of the shock. So we've got Soul Drain, because occasionally you will actually cull an enemy with this. That's great for just mana sustain. Mana can go quickly with Archmage. Magnitude of shocks. This is like one of the best support gems for this skill, because the shocked ground magnitude is increased, but the shocked ground isn't a shock duration. So your skill effect duration will affect the shock ground, but the shock duration isn't impacted by it, because it's while the enemies are on that ground they're shocked. We've got Considered Casting. This spell goes so quick that you don't even feel the 15% less cast speed. For 40% more damage with the spell hits is crazy. We've got Lightning Exposure. The Shock to Ground will expose the enemies as well, so getting exposure in the tree is great. And then more effect, we're just covering more space with the Shock to Ground and the actual AoE damage from the spell, which is really good for getting you to chain through packs. Got Ball Lightning with Scatter Shot. This is and Mobility, so we're penalized less for actually casting this on the move, and more cast speed. So it's just this one we don't really care about the damage. It's dismal. Our damage is pretty low, but it feels a lot stronger when you're taking into effect that the shock we're putting on the enemy is both being consumed by our lightning conduit and making them take more damage. So we're getting 58% more damage there, an extra 30% from the exposure. You'll see, it's good damage. It's kind of deceptive here. Ball lightning damage I don't care about. We're just using this to crit because it triggers often, or damages often, and as a means of actually getting our lightning warp cast. We have a manual cast lightning conduit. This one is good for bosses. We've got inevitable crit on it. At max stacks, this has like a 70% crit chance. We want to try and get that higher. If we could get a guaranteed crit, that'd be awesome. We've got exercise. We're not casting this very often, or excise. We're not casting this very often, so we've got the cooldown on it. That's fine. It's a really slow cast because of the base 1% cast speed, but this has the same effect of the like over 1,000% more damage with the hits. And we've got Mana Tempest. This is just like, if you really need to crank it on a boss, if it's not taking a lot of damage, we just drop this down. Our numbers jump up by a lot. Our spells will get 74% damage as lightning, which is a huge buff. And then an extra 15% on top of that. Less cost on this one because, I don't know, if you don't know how it works, as you cast spells it gets added to the mana cost and life cost per second, so we're draining away. This is rough for Bloodmage, but that's why you won't see us use it too often, because it'll chunk you down if you hover on it. We've got Archmage. This is a lot of damage, and we got Lightning Mastery just to bump it up a bit. We've got Mana Remnants. This is kind of how I interpreted or worked around Sanguimancy sucking, because the life remnants are going to be how you get sustain. And reason we're kind of pigeonholed into crit. When you crit an enemy at least once every 2 seconds, or at most once every 2 seconds, you will spawn a life remnant, and a 25% chance to spawn a life remnant on killing an enemy. They spawn on the enemy's body or when you crit them, so they're on the enemy rather than backed up if you're in the back casting spells and stuff. So you kind of want to be in the enemy to get them quickly. You can track around and grab them. We've got Mana Remnants, 25%. This is effectively the same thing, just they need to be shocked. 25% chance on killing a shocked enemy. Everyone standing on our shocked ground is this. So every 1 in 4 of them we kill will get mana, which helps sustain us. This can also overcap like the Life Remnant does. And then critically hitting a shocked enemy as well. We do that all the time, once every 2 seconds. And then Grim Feast, because this thing is disgusting, and we will be running around with nearly 5k energy shield some of the time, because this, if you're running ES, you need to be running this. 50% chance on a minion reviving or an enemy dying, that you get the energy shield. 132 energy shield, which can overcap. We're only at level 77, we're like pushing through tier 7s at the minute, but I'll show you how it feels. This map is a crypt, and the indoor maps are something. But we TP in, things blow up. As we're hitting them, because of the 3 dragons, they're getting frozen. And we kind of just blitz through. Teleporting. This is what I started with. Ooh, sick. This is what I started with. It's my first character. I've kind of been dipping the hardcore a little bit. Bloodmage was not feeling good for a bit. Yeah, from what I've seen, Detonate Dead is really strong. Like doing slams is good on, or doable. Don't know if it's good, but definitely playable on the Bloodmage because of attacks having less inherent mana cost. As you'll see, as anyone playing spells knows, the mana costs can get pretty crazy. When you throw Archmage on top of that, it can get pretty annoying. However, Archmage with Bloodmage, while it doubles the mana, or makes the mana cost an additional 5% of your current mana on top of whatever the base mana cost is, it doesn't do that for your life. So I'll show you once we've cleared out some stuff here. The Monster Area 72 is like a tier 6 or tier 7. If we have a look at Ball Lightning, it's 163 mana but only 52 life. So it's just the base cost that gets for life. We run Ball Lightning at the lowest possible level we can, because yeah, we don't care about the damage, it's just a matter of movement and getting around. But we'll keep going. Got a boss coming up. But you kind of got to put the pieces together for a boss. It can be a bit... Like here, what we'll do is just try and get the shocked ground down right away. Back up. Do this. And we get stunned out of our ability, sick. But you don't even really need to do all the fucking pieces of Exodia. You can just kind of melt the boss with cast on crit. It's the boss done. Might just run a second map just to... This is what I've been running. It's been pretty fun. It definitely had its ups and downs. I think a lot of people played through the campaign. Moments where their build felt really good and some moments where they didn't. Like generally I think GGG have done well with the balancing of the game. So I know warrior leveling looked rough. And it was kind of why I didn't go down the route of the hammer slam. We are not touching all. It's not. It's a really bad map. I wouldn't recommend running it. Maya, I've heard people yap about Maya. Let's see. I don't all doing a Maya. See how it is. Yeah. Was really considering. This map is amazing. I'm pretty sure I've been clapped on this map a few times. Yeah, I think GGG have done well. I think a lot of people don't take into consideration it's an early access and that, we're here to provide feedback for the game before it is considered a full release. D4 bad, classic. And Last Epoch as a comparison as well. It feels like a full game in a lot of ways. Obviously the campaign is still coming, and I don't know what everyone's. I really enjoyed it. A bit dicey there. And that was, completely my own fault. That's just bad positioning. Which this game will punish you for. Obviously, if you put this, you don't. This is what we want. If there are anybody who's curious in this build, if anybody wants to try this build, if anybody has done this build and can make it better, keen to see. I've seen a version of it with, like, I imagine Elementalist would be able to do this build really well, potentially. I'm curious if the shock ground with the, like, you can apply your shocks twice. Curious how the shocked ground interacts with that, if it only applies as one shock or if it's you get hit with 2 shocks immediately. It's seen some pretty crazy builds with the like orbital laser that is that. And this guy's too. There we go. Sometimes when you don't crit, it's doesn't feel good. It's kind of what I'm looking for now. Chance more than anything. That's great. I love this move. So this is a tier 6 at level 77. It could definitely be more. Probably do more in the survivability. Well, we have a temporal chains aura. You could run temporal or enfeeble in the blasphemy aura. Both are good. Having enemies slowed or just doing less damage is really nice. Bit of there. If I had 60 extra spirit, I would grab this node. You run this in Blasphemy, you can just apply 2 auras around you constantly, and then the downside of that keystone passive is completely nullified. But, you know, being at 331 spirit, max spirit, I don't think I should be wishing for more or like the build requiring more. Probably wasn't a crit though. It crits you, we will rip the breach now. One of my friends is playing a Ice Strike Monk, and he and I running a breach is a really Sometimes you gotta make space so you don't get stunned, and then just the group that's top of you. Build our breach, so I can... Breaches are great though, they add so much goddamn density. Gets real juicy real quick. It's kind of like the spell equivalent of Flicker Strike at times, when you're just hitting a lot of enemies, and they're getting in cull range, it kind of just automatically casts itself. yeah, this will be the last map I run. Just showcase, like, doing that shit with Breach. Just ping-ponging off things. That was a bit more of a crit. We don't have a huge amount of crit damage at the moment. It's kind of the... Not a lot of health scaling in the tree. I feel like Bloodmage could be saved by there being more percentage increase health. There's so much goddamn percentage increased energy shield that, like, you can move around. If you've got any amount of energy shield on your gear, you can move around like 10-15 passive points. You just get like 3k energy shield, and it's especially with Grimfeast, you get like 3k energy shield, and it's wild. Whereas I feel if there was actually more increased max health, the Bloodmage would be not pigeonholed into acquiring other forms of defense. Yeah, if anyone has any questions around this, if anyone. Tell you what's worked for me, what hasn't worked for me, if there's anything that you're thinking might work with this, or I'd be curious to see the elementalists as I've seen. Sorceress. Really keen for the next 3 acts. I know. Many months away, but story goes with the game. Oh, once she's frozen from that big lightning hit. Again, and she's... Yeah, with that combo, if the boss will let you get it off, the single target isn't awful, and you can, like, if you kind of want to use the big lightning conduit call when the boss is in a position where you're not safe to go in on them, but safe to do something from range. Otherwise, you can just pray for crits and lightning warp on top of them, and your cast on crit will get so much energy from hitting a unique enemy that they get that many times. Anyway.